Hello, Linus. I'm back.
Can you get Cab Calloway on it?
Can you get it?
That's my pantywaist shoe.
I'm sorry to fall behind.
By the way, how is your father?
But I want to know, does it bother you?
Hi, guys and dolls. Bad Girls here again. Officially here again. Welcome to the coffee house. If you are new, come on in. And if I haven't seen you in like a week, it's because I took a break last week, leaving you guys off with La Baker and the Shamus and my tie skirt. And I told you guys last week that I was going to take, or week before last, I was going to take a break this week because I have been doing this now since I think February or March, like every week, and I'm doing two videos, usually 2 videos a week. My script read from The Society, a script that I had written, and the Fashion Friday Cinema Coffee chats every Friday. So I've been doing pretty much 2 videos every week, and I've taken a break from my script reads. It is not permanent. I will be back for my script reading group. I will be back. I had planned on returning this week. We will see what happens. I doubt I will be able to fit that in this week. So hopefully I will return to the script reading sooner rather than later. So I told you guys this week is my birth week. I usually take the whole month. My family, we usually, like our birth months, it's like we take the whole month. We leave nothing on the table. And then officially it will be my birth week, and then my birthday is tomorrow. So I wanted to gather here more as a birthday celebration because I can't do what I would normally do in the past and celebrate the way that I would going out. I still stay home. I'm not doing that. So I figured I will celebrate here at the coffee house with you guys. So let's make this a birthday party for the Cinema Coffee at the Cinema Coffee House. Put on your best outfit and come on into the coffee house and let's celebrate. Let's party together. I have my coffee. I hope you have whatever it is that you have. And since we're celebrating my birthday, more of a conversational piece, strictly just conversating on just my favorite films, favorite genres, what I'm watching at the moment. We will do a little bit of Fashion Friday with what I have on the mannequins, myself included, are pieces that I have made not for a show but for myself specifically. So these are all personal pieces that I am showcasing today for my birthdays past. Every year, and I think I've talked to you guys about this in a Cinema Coffee previously, it's may have been some time back. Every year I usually create an outfit for myself for my birthday. It's usually how it works. During the day would be like shopping and just doing fun things, just going out, fun things during the day, and then that night usually going out to eat for a birthday celebration, a birthday dinner, usually with my family on my actual birthday. And then on the weekend with family and friends, like a birthday dinner with family and friends, unless my birthday falls on a weekend. And again, I'm not doing that, not doing that this year, so I'm gonna have a good time at home. So usually I make an outfit to wear every year. So these are both from birthdays past, including this one. This is the last piece that I created for my birthday. As always, as I do every week with all my garments, I will have full-length pictures showcased for you guys, and I will edit them in the video. And then always on Saturdays, usually on social media, I will show you the full-length shot there as well. And as you can see, and you won't be able to see with this one, but I told you guys, bows, those are my jam. Beads and bows, I'm about that life. I did have to use that sewing machine, but the bow itself I did predominantly by hand. There was some help with the sewing machine on that one. So this week I can't say I did it all by hand. And this dress I have unofficially retired because I have worn it. I hate to even say that out loud. I've worn it so much. It's possibly, no, it is my favorite. It's my favorite go-to dress that I wear for occasions. I have unofficially retired it, almost like my Marlon Brando, the Wild One jacket. I've posted about that on social media quite often. My Johnny jacket, I have retired it, and then I feel like The Godfather Part 3, although I'm not, I'm just, that's as far as I'm going with The Godfather Part 3. Although, okay, I know I do this. I actually met someone who was a huge fan of The Godfather Part 3. And then, I mean, when they broke down why they loved it so much, I'm like, maybe I need to go back and revisit it. Being so caught up on 1 and 2 and being in love with 1 and 2, I just, but they were so passionate about why they loved the third one, and I'm like, I get where that comes from when you're so passionate about something, and I never knock anyone down for the way they feel about something when they have a validated reason to feel that way. And I said, maybe I need to go back and take another look at The Godfather Part 3. So if there are any Godfather Part 3 fans out there, please let me know and your reasons why that you like it, or in this case, this person was like in love with Part 3. So please let me know. But I feel like with my Johnny jacket, it's like they keep pulling me back in. Like every winter, I'm like, nope, I've retired it. It looks worn, I'm not, and then I'm like, no, I like the worn look. I like that it looks lived in, so I'm going to wear it one more year. So it is unofficially retired. I have reconstructed different ways to wear it. I very seldom wear it as is anymore. It's a 2-part piece, so I usually mix and match it with different things now. It's never just a solid piece anymore. I told you guys it's hard to get away from fashion and films and cinema, because some of my favorite films do have fashion shows in them. I do like fashion shows and films, like Roberta, The Women, and the beginning of Funny Face. I mean, well, throughout Funny Face is a fashion statement, please. It's not just but the beginning really grabs you in with all the pink and the fabric, the confetti, and it's just, I love that sequence opening. And I'm personally a fan of The Women, the 1939 adaptation with the fashion show, going from, and I don't think I'm doing any spoilers. I'm hoping that this isn't like, I have yet to run into someone who has not seen The Women. So if you haven't, I don't know if this would be even considered like a spoiler thing. So if it is, fast forward a little bit. But I have no problem with the color sequence in The Women, from going from black and white to color for the fashion show and then back into black and white. Although I know I have heard of people saying that they don't care for it. I remember even watching it one night on TCM, and Robert Osborne said he was not really a fan of it going from color, with it taking you out of the film. And who am I or anyone to argue with Robert Osborne? Personally, it didn't take me out of the film the first time I saw it, although it was the first time I saw it. That's like an early film memory for me. One of those memories when you're growing up. I remember seeing The Women. So I didn't know anything about it going to turn to color, and I think it just fascinated me so, and I was just so in awe that I wasn't taken out of the film. I was just like just staring at the screen, that when it went back into the story, I was still able to connect with the story. To me, it was sort of like when you have on sunglasses, right? So it's like we're watching the whole film with sunglasses on, and maybe your friend says, do you see that? And with your sunglasses, colors are not always, they're not what we see with our naked eye, with our full vision. And it's like, no, I don't see it. And then you take off your sunglasses and it's like, oh, okay, I see it. So that's kind of how I looked at The Women, that you're taking off your sunglasses for the moment and you're able to see the full beautiful color of the fashion show. And then you just put your sunglasses right back on and finish with all the drama that I love to see, with Rosalind Russell, Joan Crawford, Norma Shear, Paulette Goddard. Let me know what you think if the fashion show interrupts your process or your enjoyment of watching The Women. No shade if it does. Everyone's different. That's what makes us a film community. Everyone's different. Usually for my birthday every year, I watch Guys and Dolls. It's a traditional watch. It's not because I haven't seen it before. Are you kidding? Please. I want it to be Sarah Brown. Although I think in real life, I'm more Adelaide with as far as the theatrics of it go and the flashiness just in my everyday life. I have done a discussion on Guys and Dolls before in the past, I think maybe a year or two ago. This year I just haven't. Usually I post Guys and Dolls trivia and everything during the whole month of June. This month I have not. I finally posted something I think a few days ago, and it's the first post I've done on Guys and Dolls this month. This year is it's just not like any other year, so I haven't been able to post any of my Guys and Dolls trivia, but every year I have been watching Guys and Dolls for my birthday. It's a long story. I will have that story linked on why I do this every year, and I also have an actual Cinema Coffee write-up for Guys and Dolls, also going into detail on why I do it every year. But I also celebrate with dulce de leche ice cream, because as you know, if you watch Guys and Dolls, there is a dulce de leche scene. I eat the ice cream by myself. I do not share with anyone, and I watch the film by myself. Like, that's usually my last film watch of the night. That's what I watch. I'm not gonna bore you guys with all the reasons I love Guys and Dolls. It's all in the write-up, how I was introduced to it, why I fell in love with it. Even there's a handbag that Gene Simmons has when Marlon Brando takes Gene to, or rather Sky Masterson takes Sister Sarah Brown to Cuba. And when this is the dulce de leche scene, the handbag that she has, I remember really seeing it. I think the first time I watched Guys and Dolls, I was just so in awe that the Don was young. Like, he was young once. Like, this can't be Don Corleone. This cannot be Marlon Brando in his youth. I've never heard of this. But after I got over the shock of that and my fangirl crush becoming unending, I noticed the handbag. My mom had the exact same handbag, and I have a photo of both so you can see it. So I still have that handbag. If I would have thought about that, because I had written down, do not talk about Guys and Dolls, do not talk about War and Peace this week. Those two films I know I've overdone, but if I would have thought about it, like just to even sneak it, I would have brought it in here so you guys could see it in person, what I call now the Sister Sarah Brown handbag. But it's the exact same one. And my mom also had a purple two-piece dress. This is a vintage piece that my mom had when she was around my age, and she gifted it to me. She gave it to me. And so I post the dress and the handbag together with Sister Sarah Brown's purple lavender suit that she wears when she goes to Havana, Cuba, and has a little sip of dulce de leche. But as far as the things that I've been watching right now, I've really just been watching like films that I used to repeat watch a lot in the past. Like right now I have this ongoing thing with The Red Pony with Robert Mitchum and Myrna Loy. If you haven't seen The Red Pony, please do that. I have it on DVD. If you're a fan of films like The Yearling, The Red Pony is such a feel-good film. If you have not watched that, I strongly encourage you to watch that. It's really good. 1949, I believe. I revisited Dinner at 8 just because I told you guys on social media that I had changed my notification tone to Jean Harlow's.
I've told you a million times not to talk to me when I'm doing my lashes.
And every time that comes on, I mouth it out loud, the same as she does. So every time I get a notification, that comes on, and I was like, I need to revisit Dinner at 8 again, as well as Jean Arthur. As much as we talk about Jean Arthur, the more the merrier, the talk of the town, as much as we talk about her, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, I don't think we talk enough about Easy Living with her and Ray Milland and Edward Arnold. I don't think we talk as much about Easy Living and A Foreign Affair as we should. I guess because I've just put those in the DVD player. I've seen them so many times, and then when you haven't seen it in a while, next thing you know, you're sitting down watching the whole thing. Her comedic timing in both of those films, and all of her films, is inspirational. I mean, it's dare I say genius. I mean, that's a word that I think we use a lot, but her timing, and even James Stewart made a mention of that with Jean Arthur, although personally, they did not necessarily get along, but they were professional. It never shows. You would never know that unless you read about it, unless someone told you that, because they are so spectacular together. And he even made mention about her comedic timing. In A Foreign Affair, it's a mood brightener. It brightens your mood. So if you haven't revisited either one of those in a long time, please do so. I remember mentioning with A Foreign Affair, I loved how Billy Wilder, to me, he sort of reused that Foreign Affair cabaret feel with Marlene Dietrich later in Witness for the Prosecution. Every time I look at one, I think about the other with both of his with his directing and with both of those. So if you haven't watched Easy Living with Jean Arthur and Ray Milland in a while, and you haven't watched A Foreign Affair with John, I personally like John Lund. I know I have friends who don't care for him much. They're not really in for his acting. I especially liked him in A Foreign Affair. I think A Foreign Affair was the film that drew me to know who he was. That checking up on Paul Revere. I like it. Other than that, this morning, I had on Elevator to the Gallows. I told you guys that's a favorite film of mine. I need to write a Cinema Coffee piece on that. And then I am looking to, because I have to gift myself since I can't go out. So I have ordered some things for my birthday, but I'm not planning on opening them until my birthday, since this year is so different. By now, they wouldn't have stood a chance. I would have opened them as soon as I hit the door. But this year, just to have something a little extra to look forward to, since I can't go out, let it come to me. I'm opening them on my birthday, so I will share that with you guys. One of my favorite films ever, The Criterion, because it's one thing to have it on your DVR like forever. It's like, you know how you have the little do not erase until I tell you so. So it's one thing to have it on a DVR, and it's another thing to have it physical. I'm a physical media person, the same way that I am with books and things like that. When you can have it tangibly, when you can have it in your hand, that's more fitting for me. So I will share that with you guys tomorrow. Two of my favorite films. I couldn't wait to have the Criterion DVDs in my hand. Also spent a little time with another favorite I haven't watched in a while, Two Smart People with John Hodiak and Lucille Ball. It was the Harvey Girls that introduced me to John Hodiak, and like with Robert Young, like with Robert Montgomery, like with most actors in the beginning, when I was really starting to binge watch every single classic film I can get my hands on, I could watch, I would pick out certain actors that I just catered to more than others, or ones that were new to me at the time, and would just print out their schedules and have it written in my planner every day that they would be on, what network they were going to be on, what time. I would have it set up to record, or I would wake up no matter what time it was, have my alarm set to watch it. And John Hodiak was one of those people. After the Harvey Girls, I knew I needed to watch every John Hodiak film that there was. Seeing Two Smart People, already being an I Love Lucy fan from before I can remember. I hear stories about myself on how I used to watch I Love Lucy before I can remember. So being a Lucille Ball fan, period, seeing her outside of I Love Lucy, which I'm trying to think if Two Smart People was the first. No, I don't know when I became aware that Lucy was more than just I Love Lucy. It was somewhere along the way, but I don't think I really just took notice of it. I don't think I actually sat down and watched it, just knowing that, okay, yes, she was an actress before she became the household comedian actress on I Love Lucy, becoming Lucy Ricardo. But I think it was The Big Street, and I think that's when I became more aware of watching Lucille Ball, and then that just followed with Lured, which I loved that one, 1947. I take George Sanders anyway I can get him. I don't care if he's the good guy or the bad guy. I don't care. So I take him anywhere I can get him. So I watched Lured, fell in love with that. Then you start seeing really early Lucy, when just like in Roberta, when she just has that fashion show piece, and you're like, the blonde, that's Lucy, that's Lucille. Two Smart People, I revisited because I hadn't seen it in a while. I love that film, and I love watching John Hodiak. He's like, I had my moment where I had my fangirl crush on John Hodiak. So revisited that one, and then that she worked with Jules Dassin. That's just kind of like amazing, because when I think of great directors, he's definitely one of them. one of my favorite directors. I love watching his films. I love watching him act. I mean, Rafifi. I love when you discover a film for the first time and it changes you. It does something to you. And again, I'm not going to switch this into War and Peace, but I love discovering new films. It sort of changes your perspective on everything you thought about cinema up to that point and points you in a different direction. Cinema to me has no bounds. It's so endless. It's so formless because no matter where you go in it, you find something that brings you to something else, that brings you to something else, that brings you to something else. My favorite genre, musicals are my favorite, film noir, pre-codes, although pre-code that's not really a genre, but I do love pre-code films. Some of my favorite films, that's kind of hard because every time I go to post about one, I'm always like, and my favorite film, and as I'm typing this out, I'm like, every film that I'm posting about, I'm saying is my favorite film. That's why for me personally, I don't like making lists because I can't stop making lists. Even in this book that I have now, it's like pages. Someone asked me to come up with my 10 list. Like, what is your top 10 list of films? I think it is, yes, okay. Top 10 list, which ended up being like so super long, it lasted for pages because I can never narrow it down. And with so many other films out there to discover, I know it's going to be ever changing. So I never want to say like this is my final top 10. Although for me, films like Gilda, The Godfather, Moulin Rouge, which I told you guys is my film anthem, I don't classify ever. Those films. Sometimes for me, the criteria of making films, your favorite films or your films that you love or are in love with, or that you would even include on a list, don't necessarily have anything to do with the specific actor or the great acting in it or the storyline or the sets or the director or the dialogue. Sometimes it's just the moment in which you're watching them, the circumstances in which you're watching them, or who you're watching them with, or what was going on when you were watching them. I think films can be such a personal connection that you have with cinema, that we all have a different reason for loving films, for the reasons that we love them. There are those films that all of those things play a part into why you love them. And when you talk about them, you're talking about the direction, you're talking about the cinematography, you're talking about the clothes, the garments, the fashion, the music, all of them, how all of them played a part in why you are in love with the film. But certain times it's just the moment, the memory that you have with that film. So those three for me, I never include on a list because those go without saying. But films like Fanny, I'm in love with Fanny, 1961. As a matter of fact, with my family, whenever we see Leslie Caron, we don't call her Leslie. We say Fanny. I love that film, which has a life of its own. It is based off of 3 different French films from the 30s, César, Fanny, and Marius, who are 3 characters in the film itself. And it's funny. My dad, it's kind of, okay, Fanny was like a mom and I film, and it's my birthday week, so allow me to have my mom moment, because I was born on Father's Day. Did I tell you guys that at the beginning? My birthday, I was born on a Sunday on Father's Day. Of course, it only happens every so many years. But anyhow, Fanny was a mom and I film. So whenever we would see Leslie Caron, we would say, "Oh, Fanny, that's Fanny." So here recently, my dad, he calls it Panis, and he's like, "No." And I'm like, yes, Maurice Chevalier, that is Panis. So my dad also became a fan of Fanny, 1961. And I do have a Cinema Coffee piece on that. I will have it linked below on how much I adore Fanny. But, it had its French films that it's based off of. Then it was like a musical on stage, which we get the music in the 1961 version, but we don't get the musical. We just get the music that was from the musical. So it's involved, but it's all worth it. It's what made me, let me see. Let me get this right. Let me search my memory. Horst Buchholz. I discovered, was it from Fanny? Yes, it was from Fanny, and that's what made me discover 123 with James Cagney and Arlene Francis from What's My Line. We've already discussed What's My Line, I'm sure, in Cinema Coffee's past. 123, I'm thinking everyone has seen that by now, but if you haven't, because I never assume, you know what the assume, like my drama teacher told us what the assume means. I never assume everyone has seen everything, so if you've not seen 123, James Cagney lays it down just the same as Edward G. Robinson does for Double Indemnity and Key Largo. James Cagney, for my female version, puts the stiletto down on 123. The way he shoots those orders out, and I wish I could find, I remember watching an interview that Jack Lemmon, and I wish I could find it, I've tried to find it, where he's talking about James Cagney, and I think he visited James Cagney on set. When you're at home, you have to, it is what it is. I think he visited James Cagney on set of 123, and that scene where James Cagney has to list off the things that need to be done, 1, 2, 3, he wanted to get it all in one take, and he told Jack Lemmon that he was going to retire after this, which that was his last film until Ragtime. Jack was like, well, what's wrong? He said, anytime I can't get that in one take, I need to leave. So that was really his retirement, although he came out of retirement for Ragtime. Speaking of Edward G. Robinson, last month with him on TCM, I enjoyed that so much. I think I was the quietest I was for posting anything for someone who was Star of the Month for that month with Eddie G, because no matter how many times I've seen his films, I'm very selfish. Like, I need all of him. I don't need to share him with anyone. So I didn't care once I went to sleep. I had everything set to record. I don't care if I have it. I don't care if I've seen it so many times. And it was just something about waking up that next morning to get ready for a day at home and watching Edward G. Robinson, or saving some for the weekend. So my final film that I finally watched all of them that they showed was Illegal. And again, Eddie G. just doing what he does best, just nailing it. That is an actor. I love watching Edward G. Robinson. What makes me even more excited about Ann Sheridan this month with They Drive By Night. Some time ago, I ran upon a film called Truck Busters, and while I was watching it, I was like, this is They Drive By Night, and of course I looked it up, and it is not necessarily a remake, but they use elements of it, which is the same with Border Town, with They Drive By Night. It uses some elements from Border Town, which is the 1935 version, based off of the book, with Betty Davis and Paul Muni, and then The Long Haul, which is elements of that as well used in They Drive By Night, which is not uncommon for that, just like with Three on a Match was made later with Broadway Musketeers, Apology for Murder with Hugh Beaumont. This is pre-Ward with Leave It to Beaver, 1945, I think it is, Apology for Murder. And as I was watching that, had no idea, and I kept thinking, wait a minute, this is very much Double Indemnity, and then you do your research and it's like, okay. And before I leave, when I mentioned Double Indemnity, my dad had came up with a bit of casting. He visited his casting department and was like, that would be something if you could have Dan Duryea playing the Fred McMurray character in Double Indemnity. And I liked it. You know, it is a classic, as is Untouched, but I liked it. I guess when anyone says Dan Duryea, suggests Dan Duryea with anything, I'm there for it. I'm a part of that club. And when that thought of if Dan Duryea and Richard Widmark had done a film together, I think that is one thing I need a time machine for. I need to call Rod Taylor and tell him to give me my time machine back so I can go correct that and have Dan Duryea and Richard Widmark in a film together. That is casting genius. That is one of those moments when you wish two actors would have been together, which I didn't even realize was going to be a lead into this before I leave you. I had written a script some years ago, about 10 years ago, and I posted about that. I made a 3-minute reel for casting two of my favorites together because I felt it was a missed opportunity. I'm not going to say any more than that. I will have the link to that below if you would like to watch it, because I didn't even realize when I was writing it at the time that there could be a controversy with doing something like that. It never occurred to me in my my infantile mind, I guess, at the time when I wrote it. But I was really trying to pursue that, so I created a 3-minute reel for it, and I'm going to have that link for you guys. I've only shared it one time with the link, but I have it. It is still on my website, but it's not something I push people toward. I only shared it one time within the last few months. I finally shared it for the first and only time. So I will have that link for you below, and let me know what you think. Gonna leave it here. Thank you so much for celebrating my birthday with me and having a birthday celebration. I wish I could offer you some cake, but we have our beverage of choice. We have our whatever it is that we're drinking. I have my iced coffee. So until next time, be safe, be well, stay healthy, stay home, and I'll see you next time. Aviento.
You want to take me to dinner in Havana, Cuba?